Okay, so we are going to return to our video. And this next segment we're going to be looking at focuses on categories of scaffolding and examples that support our students in the digital classroom.
I want to highlight this resource created by the folks over at Support Ed. You may have already noticed that you are actively using these scaffolds in the classroom. It's important to continue to do so as you transition into distance learning. Rather than share another list of tools that you and your students would need to learn, I want to highlight how to make distance learning accessible for our L population. Keep in mind that there is no single magic tool that will make content comprehensible for our Ls. Instead, you should continue to choose quality resources and adapt them to the needs of your students.
So right now, I'm going to actually share our next question here on the poll, and it is all about tools. So the question is, what are the tools that work for you and your students? Now, as you can see, we have entered a few of the popular tools that we hear a lot of teachers using. Don't feel limited to these responses. If there's something else that you're using that works for you, please enter that, share that with us in the chat. That's why we enabled both, so you can respond for this question using the poll feature or in the chat if there's some other tool that you're currently using.
Now, by looking at the chat earlier, I noticed that some teachers were clicking on multiple choices because they're using more than one tool or one means of getting in touch with our students and their families. So that might be the case here as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'm just going to, seems like the poll responses are slowing down, so I'm going to share those results with you. So we've got a lot of people using Google Classroom. We've got some folks using Flipgrid, Newsela or Newsela, however you choose to say it, Nearpod, and then a lot in that other category. So I see a lot of people are sharing, as Eric said in the chat, those other tools that are working for them. And you may also notice that I just shared in the chat that scaffolding resource from Support Ed. So that is Diane Steyer-Fenner and her group at Support Ed that developed that scaffolding categories chart. And you can find the link to that resource in the chat.
Kelley, I think you only shared it to those in the waiting room.
I am very sorry. I'm going to share that again to everyone. And there we go. Is it visible now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great.
So now everyone should have the link to that document, that resource that is kind of small on your screen here. So if you want a larger view of it, you can go ahead and click there. And once you take a peek at those scaffolds, I would like for you to consider the next question.
So here comes another poll.
Okay, so how do these scaffolds transfer to the digital classroom? So again, you can just respond in the chat. So while you're thinking or typing, I just want to remind everyone that this is probably not the best time to introduce new tools. You want to continue to use the tools that you and your students are familiar with, if at all possible. And if this is, and to be very intentional with your selection so that you don't overwhelm yourself or your students with too many tools or tools that are too complex to master outside of the traditional classroom.